Good day, everyone. Eric Olsen from Helps YouTube Live. I'd like to welcome you to YouTube Live today. Um, Got to get the chat up here. Can't. There we go. Good to have you here. My name's Eric, attorney for 46 years, founder of Helps. Helps is a national law firm that represents seniors and disabled persons who owe debt they can't afford to pay. We do this every Monday through Thursday at this same time for 1 hour. Helps. Our main mission is to protect seniors from collector harassment, and our second mission is to educate seniors how they can maintain their financial independence. And you can ask questions on the chat side, and I'll try to answer them. Should be able to do that. Looks like a lot of people have been on there already, and we'll try to get those. So I'll just start out with what I'm going to talk about at the beginning. Okay. Um, I thought this would be a good way, just a brief lead in for Helps in what we do. A person write in and they said, we have credit card debt we cannot pay. I'm 77 years old and on Social Security. Okay. Um, so if you're older and on Social Security, you should understand a couple things. Number one, that your Social Security is protected. No one can take it. Okay. Ever since it came into effect since 1935, it's protected from debt collectors. If someone were to sue you and get a judgment, they can't garnish Social Security. They can't take it. And if it's deposited in your bank account, the law says that twice the amount of Social Security or a federal benefit deposited in your bank account is protected automatically from garnishment, regardless of what funds are in there or where they came from. So if you got 1,200 in Social Security times 2 would be 2,400 in your bank account would be protected automatically from garnishment in the event someone were to sue you and get a judgment. Okay? If they garnish your bank account, your bank will protect it without you needing to do anything. Now, if you ask someone at your local branch about this, they're not going to know the answer. If they give you an answer, they're going to give you the wrong answer. But the department in the bank that deals with garnishments, they know how to protect that money. They know how it's automatically protected. Now, there's a federal law passed in 1974 called ERISA, Employment Retirement Income Security Act, that protects pensions from garnishment. Most pensions fall under ERISA, and those that don't, there'll be a state law that protects your pension. It can't be garnished either. Neither can VA benefits or other forms of disability income. Workers' compensation. There's lots of state laws that protect this retirement income for you, so that can't be taken from you. And then back in 2012, there was a law passed that, like I said, told banks to protect twice the amount of federal funds deposited in your bank from garnishment, regardless if there was other funds in your bank. They protect that. Your bank protects it. There's a department of the bank that handles that, and they know what to do. If they get rid of garnishment, they look at your account. They can determine if money came in there from a federal source like Social Security, and they automatically protect twice that sum, even if some of the money in the account at that time came from another source. So your income's protected. And then in 1978, the year I graduated from law school, Congress passed and it was signed the Fair Debt Collection Practices Act. And that law tells debt collectors what they can and cannot do. And one of the provisions of the law is that if a person's represented by an attorney, debt collectors can no longer call or send demand letters anymore. They have to leave that person alone. They have to communicate with the attorney, not you. And that's what Helps does. When people find out about us, we ask them questions. We go over their situation. They decide they want our help. They can enroll. We don't turn anyone away that needs our help. And we send out what's called a cease and desist letter to the collectors that you owe money to. Okay? And that letter tells them they're not to call you anymore or send you a demand letter anymore. Now, and they have to communicate with us. And so that's what Helps does. We represent you so you don't have to deal with collectors. We don't do it just one time. We do it literally for the rest of your life if you want us to. That's where we're there. So if you got a collection notice from a new debt collector 6 months, a year, 2 years down the road, you let us know. We send a cease and desist letter. If you're ever worried or scared, you pick up the phone and you call us no matter how often. That's what we're here for. So I'll try to answer the questions on the chat feature. Carrie asked, car insurance for seniors. We talk about that a fair amount occasionally, and I don't mind talking about it again real quick. So there's different types of car insurance. There's car insurance, all states require you have what's called liability insurance. In other words, if you're in an accident, it's your fault, there's money to pay the other side. And then you can also get what's called collision or comprehensive insurance, which means if you're in an accident and it's your fault, your insurance company will pay you money for your car. Okay, comprehensive is if you're parked outside and a tree fell down and hit your car, or you ran into a deer or something like that. Um, that would, comprehensive for accidents for other reasons will pay for your car. So a lot of seniors, if they're worried about high insurance rates and if they got a lesser expensive car, they might consider a couple things. One, you could lower the amount of coverage. You don't need to have a high amount of coverage. You could have the minimum. Why the minimum, you ask me? Well, if your only income is Social Security or a pension, it's all protected. If you were in an accident where you were at fault and there was a lot more damage, if someone were to sue you and get a judgment for more money, they couldn't collect from you because your Social Security and your pension is protected. So you don't need to have a whole lot of insurance if you're a senior, okay? And you're not protecting any assets. There's no reason for you to have that. So you can get the minimum amount of insurance, save money that way. If it's an older car and you're a good driver, you might consider not getting collision or comprehensive. The odds of you having a problem where you're at fault might be less because you're a safe driver. So that's going to all work to get your insurance rates down. Okay. Um, okay. So, someone's asked, you don't have to worry about lawsuits anymore. No, if you enroll in HELPS, you could still be sued. A lot of our clients get sued, sometimes more than once. Um, I think probably less likely you'll be sued as if you weren't a member of HELPS, but it doesn't matter if you're sued or not. If a HELPS client is sued, we send a letter to the attorney who sued you. We let them know that your income is Social Security and a pension or whatever it is, and that it's protected, that you're not going to do anything. We understand they're going to get a judgment. We remind them of the protected nature of your bank account. We really don't need to do that because it's protected anyway, whether we remind them or not. And we let you know why you don't need to go to court. They can get a judgment, but you're judgment proof. They can't collect from you. Okay, they can't take your money. Now, what about if you have other assets like equity in a home, or maybe equity in a car? In other words, you have a car maybe free and clear, or a home that's worth a fair amount of money, and you don't owe very much on it. Are those at risk? It's not the practice of. Okay, first off, every state has what's called exemption laws, which means they protect a certain amount of equity a person has in property, like equity in a home, you know, equity in a car. What's equity? That means, how much the item is worth less what you owe. That's the difference called the equity. And maybe you have a car that's worth 10,000 and you owe 3,000 on it. That means you have 7,000 in equity. Maybe the exemption for your state is 2,500. So you may have like $4,500 or 3,500, whatever it is, $4,500 equity in the car over and above the state exemption. Is your car at risk being taken by a creditor if they were to sue you and get a judgment? Well, first off, no, it's not the practice of consumer judgment creditors to go after people's property. They just simply don't do it. Even if they have even if you have equity in property over and above the exemption, they don't go after your home. They don't do that, and just for a lot of different reasons. And we talk about that often here. It helps why they don't do that, and why you don't need to worry about that. Now, what do I know? Before I started HELPS, I probably filed 30 or 40,000 bankruptcies. I've been dealing with this since 1978, and so I know what the law is, but then I know what happens in the real world. And you're going to be fine if you're struggling. And if you can look at our website, you can look at our YouTube videos, and study helps out. And if this is something that you think could help you, call us, and we'll be glad to go over it with you. That's what we do. We want to help seniors so that you don't worry. We want to have peace come back to your life. Um, Let me see here. Trying to look for questions here. I don't know how to remove yourself from the dark web. I'm not sure. I don't deal in that, but I don't think it shouldn't be a problem. I mean, so Austin, hi Eric, can you please advise on what language to use when contacting my RA annuity company to inquire if those funds are judgment proof? Okay, that would be an exercise in futility. Your IRA or a 401k is protected under the under ERISA. It's protected. It can't be taken under federal law. So you don't need to contact anyone about it. It's no one can garnish it. Okay? Now what about an annuity? Well, an annuity is where you pay a lump sum of money usually and then you get so much a month for a certain period of time, maybe forever. It depends. Annuity is protected under state laws. So I've been in practice now for 46 years. Helps has started in 2012. I've never seen a, a senior anyone lose any money out of an annuity by garnishment. It just doesn't happen. Now, some states protect a lesser amount in an annuity, but if someone were to sue you and get a judgment, I mean, you could Google your state how much an annuity is protected, but even if some of it isn't protected, which I'm sure it all is, chances of a creditor taking that annuity, any part of it, is so close to zero, it's hardly worth talking about. Okay? I mean, I think I should know, having dealt with tens of thousands of seniors or persons, that were contemplating bankruptcy, many of them that had annuities, how they didn't lose that annuity. So no, I don't think you're going to need to worry about your annuity. And trying to contact someone about this kind of stuff on the like a bank officer or someone that had your annuity, they don't have the knowledge in this area. They're not going to be able to tell you. Eh, Um, you don't need to. I wouldn't worry about it. Okay. Um, I read that the administration is trying to get rid of the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau. Will this affect seniors? I kind of doubt it would be eliminated. It might be. I mean, I don't know. They say there's some politics involved. I don't get into that. I do know that the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau does do good things, do a lot of good things. Whether there's part of it that doesn't, I don't know. I don't get involved. I know what helps does, and I know it's a practical matter. You know, for the vast majority of our clients, what's important to them is that they understand that they can be protected from collector harassment. That's not going to go away. The Fair Debt Collection Practices Act is here to stay. Number two, the fact that your Social Security is protected and your pension is protected under Social Security laws and pension laws, ERISA, like I explained, that's not going to go away. So no, you don't really need to worry. Okay. So when a person um, ask ask if when a person has a Navy Federal Credit Union account and not much in there, should it be closed to stop creditors from taking money? No Social Security goes into it, and it's less than $100 now. You don't necessarily need to close it. I mean, only way people could take money out of that bank account is if they sued you and got a judgment. Okay, so if they sued you and got a judgment, then they'd have to know where you bank. And then if they garnish the Navy Federal Credit Union, maybe they could take that money out of there. So, I mean, you could wait and maybe take it out at that point. Okay, it's up to you. If my husband gets an inheritance in his name, should he open an account only in his name? Well, it depends. We'll talk to you about that. Depends on some other facts. I worry about my car insurance going sky high. So, a few years ago, when Helps was started, most of our clients aren't worried about credit for whatever reasons, for a lot of reasons. One reason when someone contacts Helps, we ask them, do you have a credit card with a small balance or nothing is owed that you want to keep? And if they say yes, we tell them you can keep that credit card as long as you maintain that payment. And it's not backed by a bank with whom you have another credit card you're not going to pay. And so a lot of our seniors, they don't worry about they're not worried about their credit, but some are. And so a few years ago, we started a program um, with Phil Tyrone, which is called 7 Steps to a 720 Credit Score for Seniors. And it's free to our clients who've been part of Helps for more than 90 days. And if you're part of Helps for 90 days or more, contact us. We'll send you an email where you can register for that program. You can get your credit back within a year and a half to 2 years, maybe even sooner. Um, your credit is based on your recent credit history. Since about 2019, 2018, credit reports no longer show lawsuits and no longer show judgments. So you can get your credit back if you're really interested in doing that. And so some people are worried about their car insurance going up because of their credit. Okay, a poor credit. Okay, some states don't allow car insurance or your credit rating to affect your insurance rates. There's a few states that prohibit that. California is an example. But once again, if you had an older model car, you might just lower the amount of coverage to the minimum and just get collision and not comprehensive and liability. There's other ways to cut your insurance rates down, like I explained at the beginning. Um, no, no. Can President Trump, Elon Musk, get rid of my protection that's on my Social Security check? No way. No. I've heard Trump's say many times that Social Security is not going to be affected by anything that they do. No way on earth is that going to ever happen. So Social Security is locked into our system. It's not going away. You don't need to worry. If Social Security fails, it's because the country completely falls apart. No, it's not going away. Please don't worry about that. Now, if you've been in a lot of accidents or stuff like that, and you're paying a real high insurance rate, it may be because maybe at some point maybe you shouldn't be driving. I don't know. Um, but once again, if you only have liability and you kept it at the minimum, then insurance rates are going to be lower in that instance. Okay, so we got some more questions that people have contacted with that we're going to look at here. It says, person wrote in says, I have past tax debt from an annuity that I inherited in 2016, and I owe taxes on that income, but sold the annuity. Now I receive under $1,500 a month, and they want the money. Am I protected? I'm not sure they who they is that you're talking about that wants the money. Let's assume that it's the IRS, that you got an annuity, you got some money, you reported it on your income taxes, let's say, and you owe some taxes. Well, you can qualify if you're modest income or lower income. You can often qualify with the IRS for a program called currently not collectible status. And that's approximately $2,500 or less in income if you're single, or $3,500 or less income if you're a couple. Now, the lower your income is, the easier it is to qualify for currently not collectible status. And if your income is $1,500 a month, like this person says, they're really close to the poverty line, and they're going to easily qualify. You can get on the phone and call IRS and explain you want to get on currently not collectible status. They're going to ask you a few questions. Most difficult part of it might be waiting for an hour and a half or 2 hours for the IRS to pick up the line. Okay? Now, if you owe the money to the state, a state can't touch your Social Security, or a state can't touch your pension. You don't need to pay the state income tax. Okay? They can't do anything, and they can't take it out of your bank account. Uh, your income is protected from a state tax collector just like it's protected from a credit card company. It's not any different. Okay? So this person contacts us from South Carolina. My only source of income is Social Security. I am 72 years old and living in subsidized housing. Okay, I receive letters from collection companies and a summons from a certain county, and I don't know how to respond. I do not own property and no accounts other than my checking account to pay my rent and utilities. That's the account to which your Social Security is deposited. I don't know how much you charge, but I do need help. I will call in a few hours after my appointments. So, yeah, we're going to help this guy if he wants our help. We're going to tell him, first, we're going to explain to him how his Social Security is protected. It can't be taken. How he doesn't need to go to court. You know, if they get a judgment, they can't take anything from him. We'll explain to him, like I've already explained several times today, how his bank account is protected from garnishment. No one's going to be able to do anything to him. He doesn't need to worry. And if he's got other debts he's paying, he could stop paying that, and he could use his money for his needs, for his food and his medicine, his housing, and whatever that he needs. Okay. If someone also asks, if someone's income is only Social Security, annuity, and an IRA, are these forms of income all protected from being garnished? Well, an IRA is, and so is Social Security. An annuity is protected under state law. There's a few states that may have a less protections on annuity, but like I explained a few minutes ago, I've never seen anyone lose any money out of an annuity. Usually annuity income is so small that it fits well within the state exemption. There's not an issue. Okay? I'm on Social Security disability and I earn $26,000 a year. I received a 1099. Do I have to file taxes? Yeah, if you're getting Social Security and you make over a certain amount of money, it's probably close to $15,000. Then yeah, you are required to file taxes. You can Google the Social Security website and they're going to give you all the details, or the IRS website. Um, Whether you're going to owe any taxes or not, I doubt it. Now, you receive what's called a 1099. We've talked about that a lot. What is a 1099? It's a 1099-C, and what that is if you don't pay a debt, a creditor can do what's called write off the debt. That doesn't mean that the debt goes away. It just means that it's their way of notifying the IRS that they consider the debt, they're going to have difficult collecting it. Now, they can still give it to a debt collector. They can still try to sue you, but if they do that, they're required, if it's over $600, to send IRS on 1099 form, and they give you you're sent a copy. And what that does is supposedly tells the IRS that, hey, you didn't pay this debt, and therefore it should be counted as income that you need to pay income taxes on. Now, I talk a lot about 1099-Cs and talk about them regularly. There's a form you can file if you're required to file the taxes. It's called 982. And if you're insolvent, which means if your debts exceed your assets, then you can check a box. There's no tax for the 1099-C. But if your only income is Social Security and you're not required to file taxes and you get a 1099-C, normally you don't need to worry about it. The IRS doesn't ever follow up on those. I think artificial intelligence tells IRS they know how much money you make. They know that you could qualify for currently not collectible status. It's not worth their while to try to harass you about a 1099-C. You can always talk to us about that. We can give you some information on that. Shouldn't be a problem. Okay? Okay. So I like this one. Okay, old tear or something like that. I have a car that is paid off and I want to give it to my daughter. I don't drive anymore. A friend told me I can't do that because it would be a fraudulent transfer since I was sued by Discover. Okay, Uh, yeah, if that was a Maserati worth $100,000 free and clear, yeah, maybe there could be possibly an issue, but there's not going to be any issue. Uh, it's like you give someone a foot and they take a mile. Some people drop to they jump to conclusions when they read something. Okay, just for one example, the car could be free and clear. It's an older car. It's exempt. Discover wouldn't have any interest in it anyway. You can give an exempt asset away to someone. There's not an issue. No, you don't need to worry about that at all. Okay. Okay. So this person contacts us from Texas. Says, I'm 71 and on Social Security and have a state pension. My wife is also on Social Security and also has a pension. Same age. Due to medical conditions and other issues, they had to give back a car they were making payments on. Got repossessed. Okay. Um, both both of their Social Security and pensions are direct deposited, and they understand. They write in. They understand how that income is protected. Okay. From garnishment and bank liens. I also work part time, and these wages are deposited in different accounts. Would I be better off depositing my part time wages in the same account as my Social Security and pension to protect that account funds? Probably. You live in Texas, and that means that your wages can't be garnished. Now, if you put it into a separate bank account, the bank account could be garnished. There might be a way of getting that money back. But if it's a depositing account to which Social Security goes, then twice the amount of your Social Security is that sum of money is protected, regardless of what funds are in there or where they came from. So this person contacted us from Washington, state of Washington. My question is there a way to stop unwanted phone calls from a creditor? I get at least half a dozen calls per day from this phone number. Also, is the letter to prospective landlords a generic form letter or specific to a single landlord? Thank you. Good questions. So first about, you know, the Fair Debt Collection Practices Act, which is the law that helps operates under, is applies to debt collectors, not original creditors. However, a lot of states take the Fair Debt Collection Practices Act and apply it to original creditors. It helps experience when we send out a cease and desist letter, when a client enrolls in helps, we're going to send a letter out to all your creditors, whether it's a debt collector or an original creditor, and they're going to stop calling you. Now, an original creditor like a credit card for maybe through US Bank, our experience, they'll stop calling you. They may still send you a bill. If you don't want to get the bill, you can do a change of address, have the bill go to your name, care of helps with our address. But they're gonna leave you alone. Okay? But specifically, the Fair Debt Collection Practice Act applies to debt collectors, not original creditors. But like I said, original creditors, by and large, will honor a cease and desist letter and stop calling someone. They may still send you a bill, but they're going to stop harassing you. Now, you've heard me talk about what we call a landlord letter. We offer that to any senior, whether a member of HELPS or not. A landlord letter tells a prospective landlord that the senior is on Social Security, their income is protected, it can't be taken from them. Even they may have some negative entries on their credit, but their money always going to be available to pay their rent. So is it a generic one or is it custom made? Well, kind of both. It's custom made in that we refer to a person's name in it. It's not addressed to a specific landlord because what we'll do is we'll send this out and you can actually print it out and it's addressed to dear prospective landlord and it says, hey, this person is a senior, they get Social Security, it's protected. They may have different, may have some negative entries on their credit, but because of the law, their income will always be protected. It can't be garnished or taken from them. It's going to be available to pay rents. And so what we do is we tell seniors that need this letter to give it to a prospective landlord before they pay their application fee. And the prospective landlord can say, oh, I didn't know that. Yeah, that's okay. See, a lot of landlords try to make it clear to seniors, clear to landlords how seniors' income is protected and going to be available to pay for their rents. Okay? Um, okay, I'm trying to get these questions. The questions are coming in kind of fast. Um, a lot of questions about car insurance. So I'm trying to filter through the ones that are questions. I know a lot of you talk between yourselves, which is fine with me. I don't care. So I have a 2019 Honda Civic. If I happen to forget one of your questions, if I bypassed it, ask it again. I apologize. And remember, if you have any questions, you can always call helps 855-435-7787. We have paralegals standing by and attorneys that are going to be able to answer your questions. A lot of people call us once, twice, three, four, 5 times before they decide they want our help. We don't put any limits on the number of time a person can call. Hmm. If I volunteer to surrender my RV that I have an upside down loan on, what happens? Will the bank expect full payment or are they likely to negotiate a payment schedule? Well, what's going to happen is they're going to take the RV and they're going to eventually sell it. It usually takes a while before they repossess it, but sometimes it can happen faster than other times. I had one yesterday. It was amazingly fast. And then they're going to schedule a public sale. It's kind of an auction type thing, and then it gets sold, and they're going to send you a letter called a notice of deficiency telling you how much you owe, which is the difference between what you owe on the loan and what they got for the vehicle when they sold it. They're gonna demand that money. Now, do you need to pay that? Well, you can if you want. You don't have to. You don't have to make arrangements to pay it. If you're, most people that contact helps, they can't afford to pay it and they don't want to pay it. They need the money for their food and their medicine, their basic needs. So yeah, if you're a member of Helps, you give us that debt. We're going to send a letter to that lender and let him know that your income is protected, that you can't afford to pay it, and you're not going to pay it, and you don't need to pay it. And you're going to call you and tell you why you don't need to worry. And you're going to call us if you have any questions. If they ever were to sue you, you're going to get us a copy of the lawsuit. We're going to send a letter to the attorney who sued you, let him know that your income's protected. We understand they're going to get a judgment, but not to touch your bank account, and they can anyway. And so you're going to be okay. But if you want to negotiate payments to a bank for a RV that you can't afford to pay for the deficiency, you can do that. You don't have to. You don't have to. We Helps doesn't help negotiate debts. That's not what we do. Okay, our clients they can't afford to pay the debt. They don't want to pay the debt. They're not able to for different reasons. How and where do we find lower insurance for seniors? 75 no tickets. Uh, well, like I earlier explained, that one way to cut the insurance rates is to cut back on collision or liability. I mean, collision and comprehensive, and just keep liability. But I guess it's a fact of life. If we get older, that statistically, maybe we're more likely to get into an accident, even if we do have historically good driving record. Another way to save on insurance is to get maybe a cheaper car where we only need to have liability insurance. Okay. I owe Snap financing for carpers. What can they do, if anything? I don't know what you mean. What can they do? You know, I've looked a long time. I've looked at these insurance companies that insure cars if they get into if they get in, mechanical problems. Maybe that's what this Snap financing is. I remember when I was a young attorney, I got into it, and what I discovered is, I think they're probably a pretty poor bargain for most people. It has to be what they hide behind is that it has to be a total mechanical failure. So if you go into the car and you've got a mechanical issue, but you're still driving the car, they're not going to pay for it. It has to be completely broke down. So, and especially if you're lower income or modest income, keeping an insurance that pays for mechanics may not be a good investment. Now, other people may have a different opinion. That's my opinion. A lot of times seniors simply can't afford it. Okay. I haven't been able to get contact with anyone from your company either through your website or your phone number. Maybe you've been dialing the wrong phone number. We've got, you know, 855-435-7787. You know, we are busier sometimes than others. If you don't get a call, you may need to call back, but usually people get through and we try to call people back. I mean, when I'm not talking on YouTube Live, I'm talking to people on the phone, sometimes all day long. So, we want to call people back. That's what we do. And I don't hear too many complaints about people of our clients saying that they can't get a hold of help so that we don't call them back. We do. Sometimes people email us and I ask them, well, what's the email you email it to? And they said, helpishere.org. Well, it's helps, HELPS is here.org. There's a S. Help eliminate legal problems for seniors. Helpsishere.org. Okay? So try again. I apologize if we don't get through to people. Okay? So April asks, my 90-year-old mother has a Visa card. She's having a hard time paying it through her bank Truist. Will they take money from her account for the payment? What can she do? Well, yeah. Um, if she banks at Truist, we would tell her to change to a different bank account. Okay? To go to a different bank. When she signed up with Truist had her sign a form saying if she doesn't pay the credit card debt, we can take money out of your account to pay that debt. That's what credit unions do. Banks don't do that. Exception is Truist Bank. So whenever a client calls us and they have Truist Bank and they have a loan they're not going to pay to Truist, we tell them switch to a different bank. That's easy to do. Social Security, you can open a new bank account, different bank, contact Social Security. If you do it by the 10th of the month, normally by the following month, your Social Security will go into the right account. Now, you'd have to be behind 2 or 3 months or even more before Truist Bank would offset money out of your bank account to pay a debt that you owed them. Okay? So you have plenty of time to change to have the money go into this new bank account. And thanks for watching out for your mom, too. Mm-hmm. Now, we tell people that enrolling helps. If you ever have a question or concern, you can always call us no matter how often. Okay? Um, and people do. It doesn't matter. You call us every day if you want. Okay. Person from Ohio, they write in, they say, I have credit card debt. I receive Social Security and work part-time. I get calls daily from credit card companies. I am unable to make the monthly payments. Well, yeah, I mean, you can call helps. You give us your credit cards. Roland helps. We're going to send a cease and desist letter out. They're not going to bother you anymore. If they sued you, they can't touch your Social Security. Now, what about if you work? Okay, um, you've heard me explain that there's a federal law that in every state that protects a minimum of $217.50 net per week in wages from garnishment. But a lot of states protect more than that, and some states don't even allow garnishment, such as Texas. Now, I think Ohio does allow garnishment. I can't remember off the top of my head, but I'm pretty sure it does. But you'd have to make more than $217.50 net per week, or 435 2 weeks, or about almost 950 a month. But then they'd have to sue you, get a judgment, and know where you're working. It's not easy to find out where someone works, so there's probably never going to be an issue for you. So this person writes into us from Indiana. I helped a girl get a car. The first 5 or 6 months, she made the payments. After that, I have made 90% of these payments. By the time I knew about it, it was too late. In addition to the payment, making these payments is very hard. We are both on the title and loan paperwork. Can I stop payments on the car? Well, yeah, if your income is Social Security and pension, sure, you can stop payments on the car. The car's eventually going to get repossessed. If you're happy with that happening, that's fine. Although I did talk to a guy yesterday. If I talked to him or I emailed him back. No, I think I emailed him and I called him back. And oh, yeah, that's right. It was a nice lady, and she had a car, and it wasn't running, and she lived in an apartment complex, and it was parked in her parking spot, and she owed money on the car, and she told the lender, she said, I can't afford the car, come pick it up. And she said, bring a tow truck because it doesn't run. And I told her, we don't want the car. And she called me, well, what do I need to do? I said, well, is the car okay where it's sitting now? And she said, yeah. I said, well, you could just leave it there if you want, or you could get it out on the road and park it on the street. You don't want to drive it on the street, but you want to get it there if it's not insured. But if you get on the street, then the city or county or someone's going to tow it away and sell it. But you can't force a lender to repossess a car. Okay. Yeah, and if it costs them money to repossess a car. I've had a number of people over the years that have cars that are run just fine, but it's an old junker car. But there's a lot of old junker cars that run and run and run and run. It's not worth it while for the lender to repossess it. So, yeah, no need to worry. So another person from Ohio contacts us, and this is what they say. I am reaching out on behalf of my father. We recently received a letter from our county clerk of court stating that Discover is asking for a judgment against my dad. He is very recently widowed and receives Social Security and a pension. He currently has Alzheimer's as well. My sister found your services, so I'm reaching out to see if we can receive assistance. Of course, we can't help you. Your dad gets Social Security. He's been sued. He's not going to need to go to court. If you wanted us to help you, we can enroll. We'll enroll your dad in helps. We'll send a letter to Discover, let him know that your dad's only income is protected. He's not going to go to court. Don't have anything to worry about. If you get any legal paperwork that you're worried about, you can get it to us. We'll explain to you what it means and what you need to do, which is probably nothing. And you're just going to be okay. And then we're going to thank you for watching out for your dad. Okay? This is something from one of our, a comment on one of our YouTube videos, I think. Or can you help with late mortgage payments or mortgage modification for the disabled who had fallen behind on their disability? So this person is buying a home, they're behind on their house payment, and they want to know can help them. Well, we can give you information, but we can't represent you legally, if you're only a couple months behind and you stop paying your other creditors when you realize you don't have to pay them, then you could catch up on your mortgage payment. You know, you're going to have to be behind at least 3 to 4 months before a mortgage company would ever think about filing a foreclosure action. We don't represent people to get modifications. Modifications of loans aren't as common as they used to be. It's discretionary with the bank, but we're going to give you some information that might be helpful for you. Now, if you were really behind and you're in a foreclosure, we might be telling you about a certain type of bankruptcy that could be filed to stop the foreclosure and give you time to catch up on the mortgage payment or give you time to sell the home and get your equity out of it. So we're going to give you legal information that you need. See, our main purpose is to protect you from collector harassment, but our second purpose is to educate seniors how they can maintain their financial independence. So, the attorneys that work from Helps, we've got decades, multiple decades, each of us, on working with seniors that have financial problems. And so we're going to be able to give you the information you need to be able to help. Now, a lot of times you won't need an attorney. Sometimes you will. That event will refer you to someone or tell you where to go to find an attorney that's going to help you. But that's often not necessary. Okay? Most of the times these problems can be solved without the necessity of an attorney. Okay. This person contacted us from, it looks like, New York. I received a motion for summary judgment in the mail a week ago. Can you help me? I answered the summons and complaint about 3 years ago. I never heard back until a week ago. I guess the New York courts where this person lives are kind of on the slow. They're kind of slow. That's pretty slow. 3 years, and now they're finally getting around to it. So the guy got sued, and then he filed an answer. Okay, in other words, he contested the lawsuit. So when you get sued, usually, it depends on the state, but normally it's a summons which tells you you've been sued, gives you your rights, and then a complaint is where it outlines what you owe, the reason you owe it, and how much you owe. And then he filed an answer. And then normally the court sets it for a hearing or trial or something like that. But in this case, the creditor who sued him filed for what's called a summary judgment. And that is an affidavit that says, hey, this person filed an answer 3 years ago, mind you, but they have no basis for defending the lawsuit. They clearly owe the money, and then they give them facts that tell why they owe the money. And so it gives you an opportunity, if you're the defendant on the lawsuit, to contest the summary judgment by saying, no, I do have a case. This is the reason why I don't owe the money. I'm not this person or whatever. So it's kind of a shortcut to hurry up to get a judgment. So that's what a summary judgment is. And I'm going to tell this person, yeah, if your income, Social Security, pension, it's like we've explained, you don't need to contest the summary judgment if you don't want to. They can get a judgment, but they can't collect from you. So this next person contacts us from California. Just received an entry of default from Discover Card for $3,800. We have a home with a significant equity. We live in Southern California. Will they file a lien on our home? I'm so darn worried about this. Can they take the home? What are the options for protecting this from happening? My husband received Social Security disability, and I receive Social Security income. This is all we have. Thank you. Okay. Well, it depends on state law. So we'll talk about California. Okay. In almost every county in California, they protect at least $600,000 or more in equity in a home. Okay? So this person has $350,000 in equity. The home's not at risk. Now, is the judgment a lien on the home? Well, in California, they have you can file what's called a homestead exemption. And if you file that homestead exemption before a judgment, then the lien does not attach to the home, which means you can sell the home. And even if there's a judgment against you, and you get all the money from the sale of the home. Now, if you didn't, and most people have homestead exemptions on their homes in California. It's a paper you file with the county. Now, if they didn't file it with the county before the judgment, there's other things that can be done, but we don't need to talk about that. Can they take my home? Absolutely not. No. Uh, and so there's no reason to take for options to protect this from happening. But let's say you had a home that was worth more than the exemption in California. Maybe it was worth 800,000, and the exemption where you live was 700,000 or 650, and you had 150,000 equity, and someone sued you for $10,000. Are they going to take steps to take your home? No, absolutely not. They just won't do it. It's too complicated for them to ever do anything like that. No. Now, if you went to sell the home and you had exemption over the exemption, you may have to pay for the judgment at some point, but then you may not. Maybe you own the home with. So then this person contacts us from Nevada. I have credit card debt I have been trying to pay, but I can't keep up with it. I own my home and I have a balance of $350,000, which is taking most of my income from Social Security of $29.20. Well, I can't remember off the top of my head Nevada's exemption, but it's pretty generous. So we're going to tell this person you don't need to worry. No one's going to take your home. You can stop paying the credit card debt. You're going to be just fine. You get Social Security $29.20 times 2. That's almost $6,000. $5,960 in your bank account is protected from garnishment automatically in the event someone were to sue you, which they may never do. But even if they sued you and they got a judgment, even if they'd have to find out where you bank, and if they did find out where you bank and they served a writ of garnishment on your bank will protect twice the amount of your federal benefit. In this case, $5,960, twice the amount of your Social Security. Not to worry. So, is there any action at all that I need to take after getting notice of a judgment? Do I have to appeal or just say nothing? No, you don't have to do anything. I mean, if your income's protected, they're going to get a judgment. Now, once in a while, depending on the state, they may send some follow-up paperwork that you have to answer or reply to. Sometimes we'll help people with that. Yesterday, I talked to a lady in Florida who got a judgment, and she got a form, and she was worried about it. She was really elderly, and I said, put it in front of you. And I've got it, Mr. Olsen. And I said, okay, I got a copy of it. It's called a financial information sheet, and I helped her fill it out together. It was really simple. It was not to give her any legal advice. It was mostly, what's your name? What assets do you have? And she didn't have anything. It asked for it to be notarized, and I said, you don't need to notarize it. You're 82 years old. You can't get out of the house. No. And on the end, I said, I'm 82 years old. My only income is Social Security, and I just can't pay this debt. Put that in. We've never had a Florida judgment creditor ever complain that because a form wasn't notarized or that maybe a couple of questions weren't answered. Okay. Why do they send that to people? Well, because the law allows them to, and I think maybe it works. A senior got that, and one of the questions asked for all their children's names and addresses and phone numbers. And I could see a senior could be terrified by putting their kids' names and addresses and phone numbers down. Why that form asked for that, I don't know. Okay. Um, okay, I'm trying to read some of these questions here. If you've got questions, we're running out of time here. We just got a couple more minutes. But if you have questions, you call us on the phone. That's what we're here for. It's easy. 855-435-7787. Give us a call. We'll answer your questions. That's what we're here for. So let's see if we got one more question here that might help. So this is actually a helps client that writes in from Tennessee. I am a helps client, and it is my understanding my wife can be on the same account as myself. That's true. If so, she would like to become a client also. See, when we enroll people, a lot of times maybe one of the spouses don't want to be part of helps. But we always tell them if that spouse changes their mind and find they have debt they can't afford to pay, they can always enroll in helps under your name. We enroll you together. There won't be any extra charge. It'll just roll you together. He says she's going to retire at the end of February. That actually will result in credit card debt that she'll no longer be able to pay. As at the end of February, our only income will be Social Security. The only debt she and I share is a mortgage on our home. So the wife's got some of her own debt that she's not going to be able to pay, and she can enroll in helps, and that's going to be the end of it. So I'm going to call it quits for today. It's Tuesday. Okay, so thanks for participating today. I hope I've answered your questions. Let me double check, make sure there's not something that I missed here at the very end. I think I got it all. If I missed your question, you know, I please forgive me. You can put it in the chat feature. I'll try to answer it there, or you can always call us on the phone. And I'll see you tomorrow at the same time. God bless and have a great day.